The morning Karen declared my single rain barrel illegal was the morning she unknowingly triggered a legal storm far larger than she imagined. She marched across my lawn waving HOA violation papers like a battle flag, convinced she was defending neighborhood property values from catastrophic collapse, according to her dramatic interpretation. Collecting rainwater from my own roof somehow endangered community harmony and threatened the sacred uniform appearance standards. What she did not realize was that I had already studied state water rights laws extensively before installing even one barrel. My name is Garrett Holloway, and preparation has always been my strongest weapon in any confrontation. When my wife suggested conserving rainwater during rising utility costs, I researched every regulation governing residential harvesting systems statewide. The statutes clearly permitted homeowners to collect and store rainwater for non-potable use without interference from private associations. Our HOA handbook, however, contained a vague clause referencing visual consistency and exterior modifications subject to board approval. Karen clung to that clause like it overruled constitutional authority, demanding I remove the barrel within 72 hours, instead of arguing publicly. I calmly thanked her for the notice and assured her I would review the documentation carefully. That same evening, I ordered 20 additional rain barrels, each identical in neutral color and compliant design specifications. If one barrel was offensive to her authority, 20 more would highlight the absurdity of selective enforcement clearly. Within a week, my fence line displayed a perfectly aligned series of sandstone barrels, symmetrical and professionally installed. Neighbors paused during evening walks, whispering curiosity about whether I had lost patience or discovered something important. Karen nearly dropped her clipboard when she saw the expanded installation stretching gracefully across my backyard perimeter. She stormed over again, accusing me of malicious compliance and deliberate provocation against established community expectations. I politely explained that every barrel met state environmental standards and did not violate any binding statute whatsoever. Her response was predictable: escalating threats of fines, legal fees, and eventual foreclosure proceedings for known compliance. 3 days later, an official lawsuit arrived, accusing me of unauthorized water storage and damaging neighborhood aesthetic values. The HOA demanded immediate removal of all barrels and $20,000 in cumulative penalty assessments. That was precisely the moment my quiet preparation began unfolding into a carefully structured legal response. My attorney filed a countersuit, citing state conservation statutes, environmental protection policies, and homeowners' harvesting rights. We attached documented legislative history proving that private associations could not supersede State Water Management Authority. Certified letters from the State Water Resources Department supported our interpretation with unambiguous language favoring residential collection. Karen appeared confident during mediation, presenting highlighted HOA rules as though they were supreme governing doctrine. My lawyer responded by reading the exact statute aloud, emphasizing its precedence over any conflicting private covenant language. The mediator's expression shifted noticeably as he compared the binding state code against subjective aesthetic guidelines. Still unwilling to concede, Karen rejected settlement offers and insisted on proceeding to formal court litigation. She believed prolonged proceedings would drain my finances and discourage further resistance to her authority. Unfortunately for her expectations, I had allocated resources specifically anticipating an extended legal confrontation. I formally requested an inspection from the State Water Resources Department to verify compliance independently. 2 weeks later, an inspector arrived with measuring equipment, documentation forms, and detailed procedural checklists. He evaluated barrel capacity limits, overflow systems, placement distances, and potential environmental impacts meticulously. After photographing every installation angle, he concluded the entire system complied fully with state regulations. That official report significantly weakened the HOA's argument, though Karen refused to acknowledge its implications. She organized emergency neighborhood meetings, portraying my actions as rebellion against community order and stability.
Ironically,
Several neighbors quietly installed their own rain barrels after reviewing publicly available state guidelines. Drought conditions intensified that summer, prompting county officials to encourage responsible water conservation practices. While lawns browned under restrictive watering schedules, my garden thrived using collected rainfall exclusively. Utility bills across the subdivision rose sharply, whereas mine decreased by nearly 40% effortlessly. That financial contrast did little to soften Karen's resentment or diminish her determination to prevail. She amended the lawsuit, adding claims of property devaluation and alleged negative impact on market perception. In response, we commissioned a licensed property appraisal assessing environmental upgrades and sustainability appeal objectively. The appraiser concluded my installations enhanced long-term value due to increasing demand for conservation infrastructure. That professional evaluation was submitted into evidence, further undermining the HOA's speculative accusations. Court day attracted unexpected local media attention because water conservation had become politically relevant statewide. Karen testified passionately about uniformity, tradition, and preserving established visual standards within planned communities. My attorney calmly reiterated that private preferences could not invalidate rights explicitly protected by state legislation. The judge requested clarification directly from the state inspector regarding compliance and regulatory authority. He confirmed unequivocally that my system adhered fully to governing water rights and environmental policies. Then the judge posed a critical question to Karen regarding HOA authority superseding state law. Her hesitation revealed the fundamental weakness underlying her entire legal argument structure. The ruling was delivered the same morning, dismissing the HOA's lawsuit with prejudice and finality. Furthermore, the court ordered the association to reimburse all my legal expenses incurred during litigation. A written advisory accompanied the decision, warning against future attempts to override state conservation statutes. Karen exited the courtroom visibly stunned, her confident posture replaced by reluctant recognition of limits. Within weeks, she resigned from the HOA presidency, citing personal reasons and community fatigue. A newly elected board reviewed policies carefully, prioritizing compliance with state environmental regulations moving forward. They amended the handbook to explicitly permit responsible rainwater harvesting, consistent with state guidelines. Several residents approached me privately, expressing gratitude for challenging what they considered unnecessary overreach. I reminded them that knowledge of rights often proves more powerful than loud declarations of authority. Rain barrels gradually appeared throughout the neighborhood, each installed neatly and within regulatory parameters. The visual landscape changed subtly, reflecting adaptation rather than disorder or declining property values. During the next major storm, my expanded system captured thousands of gallons efficiently without overflow. Excess water diverted safely into designated drainage areas designed during installation planning stages. Not a single complaint emerged regarding flooding, damage, or disruption caused by my collection system. Ironically, months later, Karen herself installed 2 compliant barrels discreetly behind her garage. She never offered a direct apology, yet her adoption of the practice conveyed reluctant acceptance. The conflict that began with a single complaint ultimately reshaped neighborhood policy and awareness permanently. What she intended as an assertion of dominance transformed into a lesson about statutory boundaries. State water rights exist precisely to protect individuals from inconsistent private interpretations of authority. They are structured to promote sustainability, conservation, and equitable resource management across communities statewide. Sometimes confrontation becomes unavoidable when fundamental rights are challenged without legal foundation. Sometimes restraint and preparation prove far more effective than impulsive emotional retaliation. I never sought public conflict, only the ability to conserve water responsibly on my property. Karen sought control through policy language she assumed would intimidate immediate compliance. The difference between us was simple: preparation versus presumption of unchecked authority. In the end, the law did not favor volume of argument but strength of statutory grounding. Neighbors learned to question directives unsupported by binding legal precedent. The HOA learned that governance requires alignment with broader legislative frameworks. I learned that even small installations can trigger significant institutional reflection. One modest rain barrel evolved into a community-wide transformation regarding sustainability awareness. Legal documents replaced shouting matches, and structured arguments replaced emotional accusations. The experience reinforced my belief that quiet preparation remains the strongest defense. Rain continued to fall freely from the sky, indifferent to neighborhood politics. Each storm now fills barrels across the subdivision, symbolizing collective adaptation rather than conflict. And every time water flows into those containers, it carries a reminder that knowledge outlasts intimidation.